Well, hello, everybody, and hello, Chad. How was your week this week, Chad?
Tiring. But hey, the Chiefs are going back to the Super Bowl, so that kind of made the week right there.
Yeah. That's pretty impressive when you really think about it. I mean, how much that they've improved over the last few years, and then the statement that they've been able to make going forward. And I'm not a sportscaster, right? You know.
Well, let me tell you something, Lance. I had a lot of frustration with that game on Sunday, but it might be different than a lot of other folks. You know, I'm an Iowa Hawkeye, and I've spent the last 5 years watching the worst offense in all of college football. And I've watched a team that was the only team in the history of college football to score like less than 20 points a game during the season and win 10 games. They win because of their defense. That is not why I'm a Chiefs fan. I'm a Chiefs fan because I don't want everything coming down to the wire, and I don't want the entirety of the game resting on the defense, but that's exactly what we got on Sunday.
And they did their job.
So, you know,
they did their job.
I guess I was emotionally prepared after all of that turmoil that I dealt with during the college football season. Yeah. But hey, they're going back to the Super Bowl. Congrats.
Yeah, congrats. And that will be what, 3?
Oh, when?
Just recently?
Yeah, that's yep.
Yeah.
You
know, there's
third
the
in a row
past and stuff, but I remember, boy, they had a dry spell there for a long time where they couldn't even break out of the AFC West.
I used to call them the Griefs.
We're old, but you know. The Marty Schottenheimer days.
Oh yes,
you know?
Yes, they would break your heart every year,
every season. We're going to the Super Bowl.
No,
they just, it didn't happen.
I mean, and it's not like they didn't try. You know, you sign guys like Marcus Allen and Joe Montana, and you do that because you're planning for a deep, big run, and could never get it done. So,
do you remember Christian Okoye?
Oh heck yes, the Nigerian Nightmare.
One of the biggest running backs. I think he was a fullback.
Oh, he was huge, man.
Yeah, unstoppable.
Yeah. And for a while, I kind of enjoyed the Detroit Lions, but they had Barry Sanders. Yeah. And I grew up a Bears fan, so the '85 Bears is dear and dear to my heart. But now I'm a Chief, and
Well, you are in Chiefs Kingdom.
I moved to
something different than Chiefs.
I moved to Kansas, and when I moved to Kansas, not every game was on TV. Yeah. You know, so I couldn't watch the Bears. I just couldn't. But what was on Sundays? The Griefs. Yeah. And now the Chiefs. So
you're proud to be a Chiefs fan.
But I digress.
And how about all them Swifties?
Well, I don't care. Taylor Swift has absolutely nothing to do with football. I'm sorry.
Don't say that.
No, she doesn't.
She's the newest #1 top fan.
Whatever. Okay, she has nothing to do with football. And honestly, she had nothing to do with politics, and nothing to do with 90% of the crap that's being thrown around online. All right, she's a musician. Yeah. Straight up, she's a very talented and excellent musician. Can we just let her be that?
Yeah. Well, in this new age world that we live in, if you have fame and fortune, that you somehow or another, people seem to think that means you have some kind of education too.
Yeah, well.
Or that you know something. It's like, did you hear this famous and awesome person that does great movies has this political ideology? I should follow that. Instead of like, well, maybe not. Either hoot.
I'm just kind of, yeah. Obviously, I'm kind of done with the whole thing, right?
Well,
I want to concentrate on the Super Bowl.
It's been a muddy mess.
It has been a muddy mess.
About how horrible all the muddy streets are everywhere I go. My car's all muddy right now and everything, but it's because we're like seeing unprecedented rainfall.
And I was listening to a guy who's been on a township board for about 30 years up in Walton Township, and he made a comment, that he was on the board the last time this happened, something like this, and for him, his interpretation, the last time something like this happened was in like 1993.
Yeah.
Right? So I was going through my brain. I'm like, I don't think I was really around in 93. 93, I think I was kicking around southeast Iowa, if my memory serves me right. So I didn't witness that. But to me, that's kind of a healthy dose of perspective. And yes, it is frustrating to drive some of those unpaved roads out in the county. And I don't care if they're county or township roads. They're bad.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating, and I get it. But, we need to just take a breath and understand that this hasn't happened in a really long time.
Yeah. Well, they're actually some people are starting to say that it's because, they're doing a poor job somehow.
Well,
and I disagree with that first and foremost. But also, I think people don't understand there's like prioritized roads, right?
Well,
so if you have a prioritized road, it's not a country road. Just going to say it first and foremost. And then from there, when you are dealing with a current situation like what we have, it's kind of difficult to even consider, the norm, like what we would do. So now resources are shifted from even the norm, right? And then because they've got other areas of weather that they've got. That's like asking, that's almost like, Chad, I got to say, that's like asking, why in the heck it's so slick outside? Why are all the paved roads so icy? They need to do something about those roads. But not understand that
because it started
people
misting.
That are doing it.
Because it started misting at 2:00 in the morning on Saturday. That's why when everybody woke up on Saturday morning, all the roads were slicker than snot.
Yeah.
Okay, and I was the dumb idiot that decided to go ahead and grab somebody's McDonald's and run it down to Halstead that morning. Okay. All right. And hey, let me tell you, I don't know what was worse. I don't know the road conditions on US 50 or the idiots driving it. And keep in mind, I was one of those idiots.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't know what was more dangerous. Yeah. But, when it comes to the county road thing and the township road thing, there's some folks that are talking about how they've been feeling like there's some problematic areas for a couple years. I get it. Straight up, this county doesn't have the manpower or the money to deal with every mile every year.
Well, and maybe when it comes to just optimum every day, 365 days a year, 70-degree days, that might be fine. You man it for that, right? You man it and say, hey, we've got this employee. They can do so many miles a minute or whatever the case may be, and then from there we budget that according. Right? You don't over budget for an employee.
You may not have seen them in your area last year. You may not have seen them the year before. You may not even seen them the year before. There's a reason for that, and that is we don't have the manpower to deal with every mile every year.
Well, how much do you want your taxes to go up to get that accomplished? See, that's the bend in the road. We can't complain about it and be low tax. If you're somebody that says we need better maintained roads, then where's your money? Where are you willing to raise taxes to make it happen?
I'm going to go back to the guy that and just forgive me because the Rolodex isn't working real well this morning, so I'm not pulling his name right off, right? But I'm going to go back to this guy that's been on the Walton Township Board for 30 years. 30 years. We're talking some serious experience here. He's sitting there looking at people going, I don't know what to do right now. Can't do it all. And the next thing he says is, we can fix it all if we had the money. But there's no way we can get the money.
Yeah.
We can throw a bond issue out there to try and get the money. They'll vote it down. So what do you do? You know what? He's 100% right.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're talking 30 years of experience in his township. And he's sitting there going, we can fix it, but we got to pay for it, and nobody's going to be willing.
Yeah, like another set of equipment, and another employee, and be able to accomplish that. So,
yes, and that's just the reality of the situation. Okay,
Well, it goes back to this, Chad. Like, I don't really care whether all the other roads are paved or not. I just want the road right in front of my house paved. And I don't want my tax to go up. I want everybody else to pay for the roads.
There is no way we can afford to expand our paved roadway. I mean, that is, you want to talk about needing some cash to do it? We're going to need a ton of cash to do it.
Well, and considering what recently, I know we were going to talk about this and we're kind of eyeballing in on the county, but they're kind of under the gun right now for some expenditures, and everybody in the community is going, whoa.
Yeah, okay, we've got big ones. This is
going to cost more. And I heard something too. It's like, I read a specific social media post, and it was a certain elected official, and they were talking about how everybody is, like, she's not part of the commission, but that somehow or another we keep talking about how we need all this money for a road and bridge department, but how then that will not translate into being able to have better roads and bridges. And she is referring to the fact that the buildings and infrastructure that we have to support that department are 80 years old. Yeah, and they all agreed. They are quite literally falling apart. And they all agreed when we were going through all of this, and everybody was talking about how they were the best candidate. The subject came up, and the topic was talked about well, we need this done. Who's going to be able to do this? And and now we're getting shaky on it. And then how many millions of dollars are they on the hook for another thing? I mean, it's starting to bubble. Chad. Yes. We don't even know what they're on the hook for over at the detention center. Yeah, we haven't even talked about that yet. Yeah. Millions. Yeah. I am sure we're gonna find out sometime in the next few months. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna find out what we're in for, and it's not gonna be cheap. Okay? And straight up, it was said during the commission meeting this week, that building is used 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and it's used hard. Yeah. So the jail does not age at the same rate as your courthouse. No. And the last time there was any serious investment in the courthouse was in 1966 when they moved in. I mean, literally, nothing structural has been done to that building. 1966. That is an awful long time ago. Well, and now we build buildings with a 50 to 60 year lifespan. I mean, that's what they say. That doesn't mean it can't be there and they don't need to do certain things to remodel it. But it's this, I mean, look at what it would cost to replace the elevator alone. Well, yes. And they've been working on the elevator for years. It's because it's so expensive. Here's some perspective for you. Okay. The county moved into the courthouse in 1966. That building is older than our high school that we've had 2 failed bond issues to replace. It's about the same age as our public library, which they're going to bulldoze starting probably next month, starting in March, is my guess. Definitely in April. They're going to bulldoze that sucker down because they built a new one. These are buildings that are about roughly the same age, and in some cases newer, than the courthouse that they're talking about trying to figure out how to reconfigure. Well, and then you talk about these issues, that these other areas, these are private-public partnerships that have gained traction and been able to get funding, like the library. If it was solely just on the backbone of the government to make it happen, nobody's for that. And and it would not have happened. And then is there actually going to be any kind of a committee that gets together and go, we need a new courthouse? We need a new courthouse. I highly doubt it. That is the job of the county commission. Yeah. Well, I mean, when there is no two ways about it. Yeah. That is the job of the county commission. Well, I just want for a certain individual to justify when it does come up, because there is money that's going to need to be spent. And I'm just looking at it from a 10,000-foot view, and I think Anthony Schwarzenegger does a very, very, very good job. Okay, I don't think anybody at the county is slacking. All right, but to see how we're going to be able to do this without being able to raise taxes at this point in time for the county just seems absolutely.
Well, and I think that there's a bigger concern. Honestly, there's a bigger concern, and here it is. And we had a commissioner, it was Becky Reimer, who made the statement that it would be great if things were spaced out a little more, because the bigger concern is we also have the jail coming, and at some point the hand will be forced, and the county will be forced to do something about that road and bridge department and the buildings.
But why wouldn't you want to?
They will be forced to do it.
Let's be real, Chad. If you're a government entity, your responsibility to the people, and not only the people, but the individuals that are employed there. I mean, let's say this. Are you really, let's talk about recruitment, talk about retainment, talk about the overall culture of investing in your largest department, if I'm not mistaken, for the county.
And you ask about, why wouldn't they want to? The fact is that they do want to. And the evidence of that is here. That for several years now, there's been money put on the capital improvement list to do it. But that capital improvement list is not a budget. It is not a part of the budget.
Yeah.
It is merely a list of priorities. And unfortunately, because of the price tag, namely, it consistently does not get to the top of that list and then put into the county budget.
Yeah, because nobody wants to raise taxes because that's not politically expedient.
And one of the things that's really important for people to understand is that CIP, that list, is not in the budget. So do not go looking there and saying, well, there's $13 million that we can use to fix the roads out in the county. No, that wasn't budgeted. It really wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there was something recently we were discussing last week. We discussed the situation with the county, the fact that they're going to have to make some improvements or something, and then you alerted me to just something this morning that I was not aware of, and it's that they're digging deep, trying to figure out how they can do this without, once again, a testament to the job that
they are
Anthony
digging
Schwarzenegger's doing
to make the hit as small as possible. And when I say that, this is what I mean. Administration presented the commission with a list of funds yesterday. It's things like savings that were created when they were able to use ARPA funds for some projects. Savings that were created when they were using CARES funds for things. A building sale that was several years ago, that the funds from that sale have just been kind of squirreled away and not spent. Okay? Yeah. And when they got done creating this list of funds that could be made available, they've come up with a list, $6.5 million. 6.5.
Really?
That's what's on it. And you don't want to spend it all. You really don't, because, God forbid something comes along that you're going to have to deal with, that maybe you have to serve as the bridge until the insurance payment comes in, for example.
Yeah, well, and you have to do that to maintain a good credit rating,
right.
too.
So you don't want to use it all. But there's $6.5 million. They've been told, you can use this, and you can use it for these types of projects. It's just your decision. And it didn't take Randy Haig long. He was just like $6.5 million. Okay, let's pay for Pine Street. Let's go. And that's 3.1 estimated. Now that estimate, there's things that are not in that estimate.
Yeah.
Right? So the engineering costs, the architectural costs, those kinds of things, they're not in there.
Yeah.
But those are the kinds of things, quite honestly, that they can very easily pay for with the funds that they were just told they can use it for.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
and that would be that's a huge bump. You know, I
Yes.
mean, that's a good decision, a good
And
direction to go.
And so when you're talking about the Pine Street thing, when you look at this holistically, right? You've got the county courthouse and you've got the Pine Street building. And the Pine Street building really kind of has to be renovated before the renovations to the county courthouse can be done. And straight, these renovations need to be done.
Yeah, because you got to move these people out to this new location and then remodel that location.
And, you know, there are people who will listen to what I'm about to say and be like, yeah, that's really trivial. No, it's not. We've got a magistrate judge that's operating out of a converted conference room on the second floor. Okay? There is only one door in and out of that room. He has to go in and out the same door as the people he is making decisions on. Let me tell you from firsthand experience, that is a horrible setup and idea. He needs a way out of there. Period. Okay? That right there is enough for me anyway to justify anything and everything that has to happen on the second floor of the courthouse. That's district court. Because that is a serious security concern.
Yeah, and we're still even talking
They have
months.
no private way to get inmates from the jail into courtrooms. No private way to do it. Again, that's a major security concern. You can ask yourself, do you want to be standing in the hallway when they're bringing a guy accused of murder in with leg irons and chains? Do you want to be in that hallway? I mean, I'm saying that to you. I'm saying that to you.
I mean,
do you want to be there?
It's a good...
And if the answer is no, I really don't, we have to do these renovations, period. This was all touched off when the district court, by order of the state, expanded by 2 judges because we now need more courtrooms. Okay? And there was a domino effect, right? Not only do we need more courtrooms, we need more prosecutors because the prosecutors have got to be able to keep up with these judges. And then as a result, that means that in our community, we need more defense attorneys too. I mean, it's just you see how this all snowballs.
Yep.
In the case of the courthouse, the way that all snowballs is, in order to renovate that floor and get things to where we need them to be, we're going to have to move some departments out of the courthouse because some of those things that are on that floor need to move to someplace else in the courthouse, and there's no room to do that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And there was something that was pointed out to me that I didn't know, and Anthony Schwartzendruber, who has already been lauded plenty on this program, pointed it out to me. We're dealing with a courthouse that the county moved into in 1966. There's been no reconfigurations, right? So when the Department on Aging needed office space, they built one wall in a hallway in order to create a closet. And then those people moved into some offices that used to be the health department.
Well, as long as nobody's taxes
And
went
by
up,
the way,
and I'm not going to not get reelected, then I mean, that works for me, right?
And in order to access those services, you've got to walk right through the middle of the DMV, which is in a converted hallway itself. Now, here's the really great part of this story. Our county attorney's office, I'm talking about the office of our actual county attorney, where our county attorney does their office work. Just that person. It's in what used to be an apartment for the sheriff. It was made available when the sheriff's department moved out. The remaining part of the county attorney's office, where everybody else is working, used to be a jail and a sheriff's department. And all they did before moving people in there was basically lay down carpet. New carpet. And we're just going to move them right in. Okay? Anthony's office used to be an office for the county commissioners. I don't know how 3 people did business out of that space. That's just nuts. But that's what it used to be.
I got a question, Chad. I was just thinking about this as we were going along. Could this be an opportunity for the county to make a decision to move into the future and instead of doing brick and mortar everything, figure out a way to do it electronically?
I don't know. I really that's been something that's been brought up occasionally over the years, specifically with the DMV. And I'm not sure I'm really comfortable with somebody being able to get a driver's license without some kind of point of contact. Honest to God, real point of contact with another person. I'm not overly comfortable with that.
What about, and I'll say this. I mean it this way. I guess I'll say it this way. Possibility of individuals that work in certain departments doing their job from a remote location. Like, let's say, for instance, I'd love the clerk's office, not picking on Rick, nothing. Okay. But let's say if there was only a need for the clerk and the deputy clerk to be there in person, and then everybody else attached to that could help by doing it in a different. I'm trying to think outside the box.
Honestly,
here.
I don't
we
know.
talk about e-governance and the way that we can change things to be able to do things differently going into the future. And the question is there any possibility for that to happen with some of these departments?
I don't know. I can tell you that I'm not going to talk about the clerk. Let's talk about the treasurer.
That works for me because this was
you can already
indiscriminate.
Yep, you can already renew your vehicle tags online, and I do that. But here's the thing: somebody still has to mail those tags to you, even though you're eligible to do it, and I have. To get that little sticker, somebody's got to mail it to me. How comfortable are you having that be a work from home worker that's got a stack of those things sitting in their house?
Let's talk about honesty.
I'm not. I'm flat out not. Okay? I'm flat out not. I really, so, and that's an office where there's been some heat brought because for consistently over the course of several months a year ago, they were asking for more people. Okay?
Yeah.
I get it. And I get the blowback. And quite honestly, there are members of the public who are more to blame for the challenges that are suffered specifically for vehicle tags by the clerk's office than the clerk's office ever is. Seriously. How much you going to get in your savings account by waiting until the 31st?
Well, and see,
a penny?
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, and yeah,
just get it taken care of.
But that's what people do is they wait till the very last week, and then all of a sudden they've got to be accommodated for 100%.
And because we're going to wait until the last dog is hung, because we're going to wait until then, we absolutely have to go to the courthouse to do this because we can't wait for it to come in the mail. We've got to get it, and we got to get it now.
But I don't want my taxes to go up. So this is the interesting thing, and we could and really not being facetious by saying there's trying to think about options, but no matter how much you dive into it and think through it, the county's still going to be on the hook for quite a bit of money over the next 5 years.
Yes,
and you're just not going to be able to push it off to the side.
You are correct, and some of these things that are coming. Well, we've been pushing it off. Road and Bridge Department is a perfect example. I'm going to repeat the age of those buildings. 80 years. We've known about this. We've known at some point in the back of every person's mind that has served on the county commission over the last 20 years has known someday we're going to have to do something about this. Well, guess what? The day is coming.
Yeah.
The piper will always come to call.
Yeah. And because of the way everything is now, you ask the question, well, how do we space this out? Or I wish we could space this out. Really, that's not going to happen, because every time this is going to need to come up for improvement, it's going to be one batch group of things.
And let's be really clear about what we're talking about over at Road and Bridge. We're talking about the safety of human beings who work for the county. We are talking about the safety of human beings. We're not talking about it'd be nice if it was bigger. No. We're talking about we don't want this to fall down on somebody. I mean, literally.
Yeah.
Okay? It was 2, maybe 3 years ago that those photos were shared with the commission. And you're looking at going, good Lord, I shouldn't see the structural support in there. Which, by the way, has deteriorated and is almost non-existent.
But yeah, we're down the road a little bit farther.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, in the case of the courthouse, we're talking about the personal safety of a judge. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, they were even talking about...
This is not just nice to have.
Part of that is even the general safety of the public, because they want to have a secure access.
That as well.
And so
as well.
And we're being hypersensitive or centric on the county, but it's pretty important deal. I know we had other things to talk about, Chad,
it's okay,
but I mean,
it's just so what we've got going. I mean, what's right in front of us right now is combined the county courthouse and the Pine Street building, a little over $10 million. That's what's in front of us. And we've got an administration who's turned around and said, we found you $6.5 million that you can use. You don't want to use it all, but we can use that. We can use it. Okay. Now, the importance of Pine Street is that when renovated, they will be able to move some departments out of the county courthouse, which, quite honestly, the county has outgrown. I'm going to do my best because the Rolodex not working great today, but the Department on Aging, County Appraiser, Planning and Zoning /GIS, and the Extension Council. That's who's moving. The Health Department's staying put. But all of the floors of that building need attention. Okay? And it needs to happen all at once. It just does. Okay? Because if you don't, here's what's going to happen. Here's what would happen had the commission looked at it and went, well, we'll do the ground floor, and we'll do, the third floor. That means we can get these departments moved out, but the second floor, we're going to wait and do that later. Here's what happens when you do that. 1, the cost of doing the second floor goes up exponentially. 2, now we're trying to find a place so that we can use that the health department can do business out of while they're displaced. Because they will be displaced. You can't see a doggone patient and give them a flu shot in a room that's under construction. I mean, seriously.
Okay, so then talking about this, right?
So that's why that's all got to happen.
Yes.
And once that's done, we can move those departments out of the courthouse, and then we can start going after the courthouse.
To where just the whole second story would be just specifically court.
Yes. And some court services will be moving down into the ground floor or basement, depending on what you want to call it. Okay? And then obviously there's going to be some space created for the clerk and for the county attorney and for the treasurer and for administration, all on that second floor, because we're moving departments out and we're moving stuff to the basement, and that's going to lead to a complete reconfiguration, which is needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not a fan for spending money, but once again, let's go back to this. What we're talking about is just one thing. We still have
a
the
jail,
millions of dollars for the jail, and the millions of dollars for the road and bridge, and I guess we need to resurface all of our country roads now. I mean, I don't know what the price tag for that would be,
well,
but I mean, hey, you're gonna make promises. I guess I don't understand. I mean,
I think what the county, when it comes to the unpaved roads, okay, and this is just me. This is just my opinion. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's what needs to happen with our unpaved roads. Okay. I have to do a better job sharing the plan. Okay. I have to do a better job letting people know, by the way, they do have a plan for the unpaved roads. This is what they think they want to do this year. Okay. Because those plans do exist. They've always existed. They've always had to change them because of stuff like this. I mean,
depending upon whether it costs more or not.
You can plan, right? So, I mean, great example. A couple years ago, they went with their plan. They completely redid about a mile of East Lake Road. That's what they could afford to do on East Lake Road. They went in, recrowned it, dug out the ditches, recompacted it, got it up to snuff. Okay? And I'm pretty sure, I've never asked, so I don't know for certain, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't the only mile that they kind of anticipated doing on East Lake Road at some point.
Yeah. Well, it's a need for constant improvement. There is no... that's the thing. If we're having a problem and people in the community seem to think that the country roads are not up to par, and you need better country roads, so that way when we have, every 60 years, 100 years, something like that, an event like this, then you're going to have to pay more. You're just going to have to pay more. So
it's not just a widespread event that creates problems.
And then ask everybody in the community that's paying taxes whether or not they're more in favor or not of making sure that your country road in front of your house is taken care of.
These guys can plan all they want. They can plan to. You can throw something out there. They can plan to do the mile north of Dutch Avenue, for example, and that can be on the plan. And they can even have a date, and they're going to start July 1st, and then on January 20th. You can have a road down by Sedgwick just get completely washed out. Now we've got to go down there and fix this.
Yeah.
So what happens? What happens up on Dutch Avenue? Nothing.
Yeah.
Okay? Because we got to go down here, and we got to spend our money down here. We got to spend our energy and our time and our talent.
But that's what happens when you have people that are not paying attention, and have no history or recollection of the history of how things work, are not engaged, do not understand budgeting, do not understand...
Yes.
Any of this.
When I say I need to do a better job, what I'm saying is the guys that live over here at Dutch probably never heard from me that, hey, they're planning to come do your road. And then conversely, they didn't hear, oh, by the way, they were going to launch that project, but they ended up having to deal with the flooded out thing down by Sedgwick. Have not spelled that out for people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and
that's what's been going on, and it's not that they don't have a plan.
Yeah.
It's not. Okay.
I just think this comes down to
straight up. I've known Jim Meyer for a lot of years. He's one of the smartest cookies I've ever met. That dude is sharp. He's got a plan. He does. But plans have to change. And then, the situation that we're in right now, and I mean today, folks, these roads can't be fixed right now. They just can't.
Even if you spend a bunch of money on it, Chad?
No.
That's not how it works.
You drive a gravel truck down one of them roads, you're going to get your gravel truck stuck, and you're going to make it worse.
Well, but you might have noticed that everybody driving around in the country has more mud on their vehicle than normal.
So is mine.
We can't do something about that?
Okay, and I've been on some of those soft roads. Okay, I've been out there. Like I say, I get it. All right. I wouldn't want any of the roads that I've driven in the last 3 weeks. I wouldn't want those in front of my house. I get it.
Well, you know, Chad.
But
you know,
we have to. I guess what I'm trying to say here is kind of let's slow the roll here. All right.
Yeah.
It's gonna get dealt with. It may not get dealt with as quick as you want. I'm sorry. We don't have unlimited resources. And oh, by the way, they can't be fixed right now. They got to dry out.
Yeah.
Okay? And this is a lot. This is a lot like the winter of 79 where I grew up. And, you know, there were some times, my dad was a truck driver. There were some times he just couldn't get to his customer. It didn't matter that the milk was going to spoil. He couldn't get there. Roads wouldn't let him.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was 9 years old at that time. And that's when I started to learn about the different levels of maintenance that you see and what those things are based on. And it's going to sound cold, but if you're the only person living on your mile, it's going to be a while. It's going to take some time.
Yeah.
And the more sparsely populated your mile is, the less rapidly the response is coming.
But then you have the same people that want for their road to be graded, taken care of, maintained in all conditions and all situations.
And here's the other part of it. And here's the other part of that.
But they don't want to pay taxes to do it.
And yes, and that is universal across the counties and the townships. Okay. Right now is one of those times everybody needs to be as thankful as they can be that we actually have those townships.
Or that we have decent roads to drive on. Because tell you, for everything that we just went through, like, you know, we literally are just drying out. I mean, there is no way to be able to, you know, and it's like, well, I'll tell it like I told my kid to say this, right? When you're out driving around, if it's a muddy road, don't be driving down the muddy road. You're just making it worse for everybody else. So if you really are sitting here in a situation where you got mud everywhere all over your vehicle and everything else, maybe you should just be picking a different road to drive down. I mean, I'm just saying. I don't know, Chad. We had so much to talk about, and we wound up.
Well, this is where we were at. I mean, this is the kind of stuff we were talking about before we started.
Yes.
You know,
of course, the meeting was just yesterday, and we got a little bit of update on that.
Right. And so, I mean, we've been a little disjointed to get here, but here it is. They're going to move forward with the Pine Street building. It's estimated at $3.1 million. That is a rough estimate. But the architectural work and the design work is going to start. And it's going to be paid for using cash. They are not going to take on new debt. Okay? And when it comes to the courthouse portion of this whole thing, which is more like $7 million, they're going to figure that out on the funding side once Pine Street is taken care of and they can actually start moving forward with it.
So ultimately, this ended up being a really, really good meeting.
Yes.
I mean, when you're talking about all the things that could be, and we were sitting here dealing with how we tackle this thing.
And you know, there was a number of things that needed to get tackled during this meeting. We had board appointments for planning and zoning, and we had to discuss it was labeled as a discussion of courthouse and Pine Street renovations. And what else did we have? Well, we had the road discussion that was added that morning.
Yeah.
Right. And so yes, there was a lot going on that Tuesday morning. But a decision did get made. Okay? And we had 2-1 votes. Completely understood. Got it. The dissenting vote on each of those was a different person from the commission. You hear what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, because right now our commission's in turmoil.
Right? I mean, it wasn't just one commissioner that was like, I'm just going to vote no on everything.
Yeah.
No, that's not the deal. Okay.
Well, it's like I said last week.
Right? And they had their reasons, and they were strong and they were solid, but we had those decisions made. And, most importantly, that the decision on Pine Street was made because that's one that is going to lead us for a number of years in the future.
Yeah. Well, 40, 50 years.
Yes.
They're going to remodel it. It's going to have a 50-year
Right.
life, and then
Right.
we're going to be able to move on with that.
Right. I mean, it's just...
But then what's going to happen is as we remodel both Pine Street and the courthouse during this little 5-year period of time, then 40 to 50 years from now, both of them are going to have to be remodeled or
Right. And the jail is going to come up.
Yep.
It's coming up. The jail is going to come up more often than anything else. And it goes back to what was said. It's used 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and it's used hard. 99% of the people that are in that building all day, every day, don't want to be there.
Well, it's kind of dungeon-y.
They're not going to play nice in the sandbox. Let's just say it that way, okay? All right. So, yes. And by the way, I absolutely love delivering DoorDash over there. That is just freaking awesome. It's like, they want pizza today. Oh, yeah. It's like, gosh, you deputies, you've earned every bit of this one.
Yeah.
So, yes. And we absolutely are going to be forced to start making decisions about the Road and Bridge Department infrastructure. Okay?
Yeah.
And does that affect or improve a road? No, it doesn't. But it deals with the safety of the people who do improve those roads. Period.
And it's something that needed to be done for a long time, and they discussed it during before anybody was even in this position.
Yes, and it's one of the things that's important to note too is that none of these things, the courthouse / Pine Street, the jail, and Road and Bridge, these are not things that just popped up overnight.
No. Well, it's one of those, if you've been paying attention, you know.
These didn't pop up overnight. The decision to add judges is 3 or 4 years old. Okay? And quite honestly, the county really lucked out that they were able to buy Pine Street.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they really did. You know what it cost to build a building like that?
Oh, yeah.
We're talking in the tens of millions. And they're not going to have anywhere near that invested in it when they're done. So they really lucked out on that.
Well, it goes back to good planning.
Yeah.
Well, Chad,
it does.
I know we were very Harvey County Commission eccentric this week.
And that's fine, dude, because we're all about Harvey County, right?
Yes, right. That's right. And we are coming to the end of the program. We're up against our time. So just tell us what's on your mind, Chad.
What's on my mind is that I have a video to edit. I had a sit down with Val Gleason, and she and I chit-chatted for the source video is 30 minutes. That was interrupted multiple times because as life and luck would have it, as I was talking to Val, there was a woman having a medical crisis that drove right into Walmart.
Yeah.
And all those police, fire, all those sirens went right by our door as we were sitting there chit-chatting. So that's why I have to edit the video. But I'm very much looking forward to getting that done and getting that online at thekansan.com and looking forward to finishing off 3 more of those interviews that are being done in a series.
Very cool, Chad.
So that's what's on my mind.
You're trying to do, yeah, it's a learning curve of the best kind. I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. I enjoyed the one that you did with Carly Stavola, and I'm looking forward to the one that you did with Miss Gleason. Gleason.
I hope that I was able to shine a little bit of a light on what kind of a rock star Carly really is. I mean, most of the conversation is about local media, but and that's going to be what it's about for all of the folks that we do this with. But I'll tell you what, that I hate doing this because I have to always edit. That woman is an absolute rock star, and the reason I have to edit is I'm sitting here on that girl. Man, I can remember when she was in high school, you know?
Yeah.
And I can remember even further back than that. I can remember when she was running around at the baseball fields and her dad was coaching and I was umping. You know, but she's an absolute rock star that we got to come back to our community, and I'm can't be more tickled about it than anything else.
Great things are on the horizon, Chad. Great things are on the horizon, and we can be critical thinkers, and we can put our opinion forth on all things local, can't we?
Sure can.
Yes, we can. All right, I got something for everybody. I heard this week, and I think it's worth repeating, and it's stuck with me, so hopefully it'll stick with you. And it's that in a world in which we constantly say that people are lacking in common sense, it's not common sense that they're lacking in. It's critical thinking skills. Stay up, and we'll see you next week.